Hi, I'm Scott Real, author of the Journey to Freedom series and founder of Restore Small Groups. And this is this week's Moment of Hope, which is called Failure as a Catalyst for Motivation. It's not the most glamorous title, but let's kind of dig into it and see there's some really great fruit in this. Failure as a catalyst for motivation. For many of us, it's when we experience pain, of disappointment or failure that we realize that we got to make changes in our lives. So this goes back to our theory, just how important both extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation are. Most of us always move towards change when there's some kind of pressure. So extrinsic motivation is always a great tool to get our attention that things need to change. And that awareness is what drives me into a process of growing into the changes that I'm growing into. And then that's when we see the transformation of our motivation, then it becomes intrinsic. But it's very hard to just, for most of us, to start off with an intrinsic motivation, like, oh, I really want to change. When most of us, that's just going to be a reality. The reality is pain, consequences, these type of situations, pressure moves us. You know what, this is uncomfortable. I can't keep doing this. I've got to change. And sometimes it's whether life or death, but that beginning of change, when it's failure, can also be a great, great tool to get our attention that I got to make some changes, and I get into the process of change. I think most people who have ever been in recovery for some kind of substance or behavioral issue is when it was really causing them trouble and it's like threatening their whole livelihood, that they finally said, you know, enough's enough, I got to change. And they moved extrinsically motivated towards change. And then something happens in that process where it becomes an inner drive, an inner desire, and it becomes intrinsic. So let's look at failure as an opportunity to move towards change. So I don't want a person to be beating themselves up and berating themselves, and then that just creates more pressure to just, now they just want to numb even more. And so allow the discomfort and the reality of failures. And I don't know if failure is such a great word, but we'll use it as a beginning. But when things aren't working out and they're not going well, it's time to take an inner look. It's time to move towards the inner journey. So let's move into our change, our process of change, motivated, allow failure to have its part, use it for good, because it does not define me. I'm not defined by my failure, but I am defined by what I do with my failures and my setbacks. If I allow them to motivate me to have a future that's going to be different, and I'm going to be determined with all my heart and soul and mind to work with God and others for that change, and we'll move forward. So allow failure to motivate you, to move you towards change, and then you'll be on the path to intrinsic motivation and where you really want to do this for you. It's not that you have to change anymore, it's that you want to. But almost all of us, it starts with, I have to change and I got to do it now. And the sooner, the better. So we have a saying in recovery, wherever bottom can be, wherever you can hit bottom, let that be it today, because it can always get lower. So let this failure, let this place be the place that gets my full attention. I got to change, and I want to, and move towards that. So remember, we're better together, and stay on the path.